Hello everyone, join me as we discuss and implement vNET peering inside of Microsoft Azure. Check out the description for the resource links and be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Comments are welcome, and if you have a technology that you'd like to see, be sure to leave it in the comments. So to understand peering, let's take an instance where within a region we've got a couple of virtual networks or VPCs, if you will. I know there's subtle differences between Azure's vNETs and AWS's VPCs. Like for instance, when it comes to subnets in AWS, they are availability zone specific, where if you look in Azure, Azure's are region specific. So I know there are some differences between them, but for generic purposes, just keep in mind, these are software-defined networks, right? There's the networking spaces within the cloud provider's network that we can allow resources to communicate, between each other. So with peering, take an instance where we have two virtual networks, right? And we've got our subnets within these virtual networks and resources inside of these subnets. Now we want, if we left it right here, remember this is a logical boundary that's created, networking space, if you will. It's got logical boundaries, and without enabling peering, they can't communicate amongst each other. So let's take a scenario where maybe we do have a couple of resources and we want them to be able to communicate, and we don't want, for instance, the complexities of configuring VPNs. We don't want the information to travel, the public internet for whatever security reasons. So we can implement what's known as peering. And this kind of breaks down that logical barrier, and it allows the vNETs or VPCs, virtual private networks, or virtual private clouds, excuse me, I swear I know that acronym, allows them to communicate across those boundaries. Now, for instance, you will even see some peering that if we replaced these names with regions, for instance, inside of Azure, it can peering can span across regions as well too, and this is where we can have, again, a couple of vNETs that can communicate across entire geographical regions. For instance, we have here we have East US, we have West US, and with peering we can break down even those logical barriers of the regions themselves too. Now, keep in mind, we also have to keep in mind a lot of things, but like data sovereignty, rules as well, and data residency. So something to keep in mind too when we're enabling peering. So this gives you an example of what peering is and kind of discusses the basic points around it. What do you say we go ahead now? Let's dive into a demonstration and let's see how we can enable peering between two vNETs inside of Microsoft Azure. Here we are logged into the Azure admin portal, and if you need to get to the portal and you want to follow along, you can see, just browse to this URL. Also check the description. I'll have any kind of resource links, including the resource link to the admin portal here, administration portal, for the viewers. So I've logged in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to resource groups here. I want to show you how I have this set up. So I've got various resource groups here. I've got one in East US, and I've got one in the East US resource group and the West US resource group. Looking over here, you can see that both of these are in their respected regions as well. So East US is in the East US region, and West US is in the West US region. Again, remember when you're making your resource groups, your naming convention is what will suit you. For me, I typically name it based on the demonstration that I'm doing. And for due diligence, especially for those of you that are on a budget and don't want to accrue a high cost, typically once I get done with a demonstration or testing something, I'll come back and I'll delete the resource group. But that is for another lesson. Let's go ahead and let's look at the West US resource group. And you can see here inside of this resource group that I have a virtual network, and it's West US. Again, you can see the respected location or the region for this one. And if we select this virtual network, you can see the properties. Just going over here to settings, right? You can expand it out. And you can see what the address space is. Got to stay zoomed in here so you can see this a little bit easier. Here's the address space, and we can add additional ranges if we want. You can see the peered virtual network address space. We haven't set up a peer. That's what we're here to do. But let's go ahead and select subnets, just so you can see that I do have some subnets set up and some subnet ranges. Right, so there is our West US vNet. Let's go ahead and let's switch over to our East US resource group. I'm just going to go ahead and use the breadcrumb trail, choose resource group, and this time we'll just choose East US, kind of wash, rinse, repeat. I'll go ahead and back these out here a little bit too, so you can see here that we also have a virtual network here likewise, and that's the East US vNet. I'm going to go ahead and select that. It's also in the East US. You can see if you need to see the location, right, just under the overview, which is the default blade, just you can see the the metadata about it. So notice that we have East US here. And if we kind of come down, we can select address space, and you can see that there is a 10 dot address space, or 10.0.0.0/16. Keep in mind, this will come up here again in a second, but I do want you to realize that, notice the address space, it's telling me that it's overlapping with an address space from another vNet. Just to kind of shorten this up here, you can always pause the video and read it. But because of that, I will have to change that address space. And let me kind of zoom over here. Notice it says, if you intend to, sorry to give everybody motion sickness, peer these networks, we need to change the space. So you can't have overlapping spaces. That will cause a problem. Actually, it doesn't cause a problem until you enable peering. So I do want you to keep that in mind as well too. And we can see here I also have some subnets created likewise too, with some different address ranges. All right, well, now next up, what we want to do is we are going to go ahead and enable the peering link between the East US virtual network and the West US virtual network. So under settings here, what I'm going to do, kind of just scroll down a little bit, you'll see in the list here comes up the peerings, and we're going to select that. And kind of back up here a little bit, let you guys see that a little easier. And we'll go ahead and we're going to click Add. And I'll zoom back out, and this is our add peering configuration wizard, and we'll run through this too. Now this is the remote virtual network summary, so the peering link name. So I want you to think of it from the remote, if you were in the remote network, what would the link look like? And that's something too, because you might think, well, we're going from east to west here, so what I might do is take, call this east to west, right? But that's actually not the case, and I've gotten this wrong a couple of times. Don't let me lie to you here. So, but what we want to do is think of it from the perspective of I'm in West US. What would the link look like? So, this is I'm going to call this west to east, even though it seems kind of counterintuitive to how I told you we were going to set this up, and the subscription, but then it's going to ask about the virtual network. Now, if you remember, I showed you that there was a little warning about overlapping IP address spaces here. Let me kind of zoom back here. I have 3 different vNets, and if you remember, it told me that this vNet had an overlapping IP address range with my East US. So I'm going to go ahead and select that one just so we can see the error that comes up. So same errors that we got before. It's not really an error when we've seen it before. It was informational. Now it's an error because it's mad red in your face, screaming at you. So this would be something that you would have to fix if you truly did want to do the peering. You'd have to change the address spaces so they're not overlapping. I'm going to go ahead and we will choose West US vNet 01 for our peering. Let me go ahead and back out here a little bit so you can see what it looks like. And then it's going to give us the ability to start to configure some attributes of this link. So for instance, do we want to allow West US to access East US? Maybe we do. Do we want this to be two-way? Do we want to allow West US to receive forwarded traffic from East US? Again, we could check these off if we want. A little bit beyond what we're doing here, we're just going to get the link set up, and then we'll come back and we can always do configurations in another video. And then we can see what's the local virtual network summary. So think about it. Now we're local, right? This is from this virtual network. So this is where I would actually put my east to west. Again, just for my naming convention so I can keep it straight. And scroll down, we can do the same thing here that we've seen in the remote link. So what you're essentially doing by creating this peering link, let me get that out of there. By creating this peering link from east to west, you're actually creating 2 peering links. So keep that in mind. Now I'm going to just choose Add. And you'll see here that it's starting to create those virtual links. These don't take very long, so we don't have to use disappeared really quick. We'll go ahead and we'll just close this one out. And you can see now we have a link, and notice the name here, the naming convention. If I would have put west to east in that first field, that's actually what it would look like here. But we can see that the link is fully synchronized, it's connected. We can also see the virtual network that it's connected to. Let me go ahead and zoom out here. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to back up to our West US virtual network. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Home, and I'm just going to choose the network from the recently used locations here. All right, and backing all the way out here so you can see what it looks like. We scroll down under Settings, and then we can click Peerings. And let me refresh this. There we go. Don't fear the refresh. Notice that it didn't show up at first. I was like, wait a second. But if you choose refresh, now it refreshes the interface, and we can see that we have a west to east. Now remember, we didn't create it on this side, and that's why I tell you about I use the naming convention, because it might trick you up when you're first doing this. I know it did me, but notice that now from the perspective of our virtual network in the West US region, we have a link, again, from its point of view. So for me, it's west back to east versus what we've seen earlier. Oh, and you know, let me go ahead and just select, before we close this one out, let me just go ahead and select the link. And here you go. You can see that you can still modify some attributes, right, of the local virtual network settings right here. Again, so it's not a one and done. Naming is, you know, so you want to keep that in mind. Make sure you name them appropriately. I'll go ahead and just back out of this and choose cancel. But there you have it. Not too hard to set up a peering link. And another thing that we can do, let me see here. Let's go to Resource Visualizer. And there we go. Yeah, so I just chose Resource Visualizer over here. And what we can see now is that it kind of lets us see our two different virtual networks, and more so here we have this link that is established, and notice that it is a two-way trust. If I hover over, you know, any one of the little icons here, I could view, oops, if I can catch it, I can choose view, and it gives me the information about that component. Looks like I disappeared. Try that one more time. There we go. And again, we can just view information about the virtual network here too. You can see that I've got it tagged for things like cost allocation and chargeback. But there you have it, everybody. That is how you can get one of these virtual network peering links going, and you can peer across regions. And that's one of the great things here. A little bit different if you're in AWS, because in AWS, subnets are availability zone specific, where one of the things we want to keep in mind is that when we look at you know, subnets here in Azure, they are region specific. So, but the concept is the same. Remember, you know, when we talk about peering, we're talking about letting these two different isolated software-defined networking spaces communicate together, where traditionally, again, without setting up peering, that we have that logical boundary, and these vNETs can't communicate with everybody, or each other, excuse me. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much. If you like this video, I always encourage you to, you know, like, subscribe. Remember to leave a comment if you have a topic that you want to see as well, and I'll be sure to look into it, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you so much for watching.